A couple of sticker outers. No, they're gone. There we go. That was weird. So I must have caught some sort of Germans. No, my kid was sick. Or is sick, so does that mean the germs are in the house and I caught them, but my wife and other kid didn't? Or did him and I eat something? Or how did we get sick? Because I'm not a big proponent of the germ theory. Because that's what it's called, the germ theory.
Germs enter your body and your immune system is low for whatever reason.
Again, what's your immune system? What is your immune system?
Many different organs at work
synergistically
to help protect your biological
Not true.
vessel.
I disagree. I don't think that's real. I don't, I just don't buy into it. The other day, before he got sick, him and I each had a sandwich, and nobody else did. I'll go. How's it going?
His immune system being low.
Yeah, but why would our immune systems be low?
Stress can do that.
Stress mess. There's not a time when I'm not under stress.
Your level of anxiety varies.
Never. My stress level is always... I'm always under stress. Doesn't mean my anxiety level is high. I'm not a very anxious person. And I think I must have I think I tore a pec. Did something, because not fully, partial tear. Nanoparticles in the chemtrails could absolutely be what it is.
Then everybody would be sick.
Unless they're engineered to... the thing is, we don't get how advanced the system is. We don't get that they can manipulate things and adjust things to attack certain people's blood types, certain people's this, certain people's that. We don't know. The idea of the invading Germans is just... It's just goofy. It seems like goofy propaganda to me. Especially if I get sick and you don't, then that totally kills it. The idea that there'd be germs and that I have a much better immune system than you do, if that's the way you're looking at it. You get sick a lot more than I do. And I know that can't be the case because it's something you view as negative. So if it's negative, it can't possibly be that you do it more than me. I get it. But you're way more compromised than I am. I don't know. Sure. Or maybe it's just the poison in it. Who knows? I just don't think the system is telling us the truth. The system that makes a lot of money off of our belief in that regard. We allow them to manipulate us in all these different ways. And the stupidity that they've engineered so well, it cleans up whatever mess the program doesn't get. If you believe in Jesus, or you again, look at all these trolls that'll come through that apparently aren't opposed to the pedophilia, aren't opposed to genocide, aren't opposed to the poisoning of our waters, aren't opposed to chemtrails, aren't whatever religion I'm talking about, they apparently they believe in all of them, but then they don't, but they do. But you know, I mean, it doesn't matter what thing gets brought up, they're going to have an issue with it. They've been working on that in the Ukraine biolabs. I mean, yeah. But I don't, I just, again, I don't know why people think that's not the case. I really don't understand why people believe in our system. And it's funny how, you're right. It's funny how, uh, she said they don't want to believe it because it's too scary. And that's the truth. I mean, that really is it. But it's like when you look at at the narrative that we were given. Like, I remember, I was a kid in the 80s, and I remember all of it to some degree. And the reality that they used to tell us 2025 would be is nowhere near what the reality is now. Like, they just lied. And they told us we'd be so much further. And then the further you go back, the more advanced they told us we'd be by now. You go back to the 20s and 30s, and they were, we would be in flying cars, and we would be eating pill meals and Jetsons kind of bullshit. And it seemed like we were on that trajectory, but then they just sort of stopped it. We got too powerful. We got too informed. And that's the worst thing that can happen is us educating ourselves and each other. They rely on our racism. They rely on our stupidity. They rely on our compliance. The fact that so many people, especially here in the States, identify as the people who support those committing genocide, who think that those committing genocide are God's chosen people. Like, it really is just phenomenal. And it's crazy too, because it's, so many things you sort of have to, you have to look up, and then you just sort of trust that somebody's saying something one way or another. And most of it, I mean, their biggest weapon is keeping us focused on the past. If we're sitting here arguing about whose Sky Daddy existed 2,000 years ago, we're not paying attention to what's going on right now. Yeah, I got no following. You are correct. There's no following on this page. And like, it's funny when people point shit out like that. Like it's some sort of insult. Like, it doesn't prove the point. Why would I not have any following? I have all these thousands of people that watch my shit, but not following. And so much of it has to do with, like, I have people tell me all the time, I'd share, I just don't want to upset somebody else on my feed. Thaddeus was always a great example of that. But it really does come down to, like, our programming. How did we get to the point where we don't care about things unless it affects us directly? Or unless we see how it affects us directly. Like, we're not, like, compassionate. We're not, like, we don't look at things intelligently and think, oh, if they're doing that there, they're doing that here. Like, I always knew, like, if I'm hanging out with the white guy, and as long as there's no Asians around, he's making Asian jokes, or there's no Arabs around, he's making Arab jokes. Then when there's no black people around, he's making black people jokes. If you're racist in one way or another, you're racist in all ways. And you see that, like, It's funny how everybody knows that there's so much racism, and yet every white people always deny it, always deny being racism or racist, and always deny seeing it. It's just interesting how the way that you lie to yourself to be able to exist. You lie to yourself to make it sound like it's better than it actually is, but it's not. It's really really fucked up. Thankfully no one's dropping bombs on your house yet. But the Israelis are dropping bombs on people's houses. They're attacking Yemen now. Well, they've been attacking, but they're escalating, and they're escalating all of these different scenarios. Yeah, you got 33,000. Then why aren't you going live to your audience? And you could prove it really easily if you went live to your 33,000 followers and was like, hey, come on this guy's feed and tell him what he's wrong about. Then we would see. Either A, there's going to be a lot of people that you influence, or B, nobody will show up for some strange reason. Yeah. Sure you do. I don't care. Again, it's not about you. I don't give a shit about you. The reality of the situation is mine is probably one of the most censored feeds I've ever seen. And you either see it or you don't. It's just that simple. I'm not going to argue with you about it. If you can look at the numbers I'm able to achieve, or at least have been able to achieve, and then look at what happens on other days, it's just foolish. To think that I would have at least 20. Sorry, guys. I mean, I just it's so interesting to me. It's so interesting that people would be like they'd be here to talk the shit about the stuff being talked about, but then to actually educate themselves further or take it to another level, they don't. It's so strange to me. I mean, I've been talking about this blood libel and this well poisoning and just these really horrible things that are only associated with the Jays. And to think that people aren't paying attention or aren't bothered by it, it's just strange. It's like, what would make you the Holocaust Encyclopedia? The term blood libel refers to false allegations that Jays used the blood of non-Jewish, usually Christian children for ritual purposes. The Nazis made effective use of the blood libel to demonize Jays, with Julius Steicher's newspaper Der Stürmer making frequent use of ritual murder imagery in its anti-Semitic propaganda. I mean, just look at the way they talk about it. Just look at the way they present it to you. Like they try to make you sound like a bad guy just for talking about it, just for asking questions. And to I've been reading a lot of this. When you see just how much it exists, like I said, I actually, pat myself on the back for this one from yesterday. But when you look at what was done to Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter was this, these hood people. Um, when you look at how Black Lives Matter was very specifically about the police shooting unarmed black men. I'll go to a guilty one in this as well. The police shooting unarmed black men. When the system realized that the phrase Black Lives Matter bothered white people so much, like it's so embarrassing. I can't believe it worked as well as it did. And our song Keys to the Kingdom pointed out. If they would have said Black Lives Matter too, would it be as big an issue for everyone? You should go check out our song Keys to the Kingdom. It's one of our better ones. Oh Jesus Christ! But when you see how the system then, and this is something that white people do all the time. Like there's a famous interview from Old Dirty Bastard where somebody's interviewing him and talking about how much money he has, how much money he made, and they're like, so what are you going to do to benefit the black community with that money? And he's like, nothing. And he's right. Like that shit never gets asked to white people. White people win the lotto. White people, get first prize or something, or they get some sort, like Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is supposedly one of the richest guys in history, and yet where are all the Elon Musk centers? The Elon Musk libraries, the Elon Musk schools, the Elon Musk, programs for people who are hurting. Nobody ever puts that on white people. Yet when it was Black Lives Matter about, cops shooting unarmed black men, people were like, what about black on black crime? What about the black education system? What about all the fathers that leave? What about the blacks in prison? What about blah, 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 blah? And it's like, this wasn't about all those different things. Why are you putting all those different things on this one thing? You're trying to stick everything you can to this to weaken it. And that's what we do with things. We do that a lot, especially when it comes to people of color. But when it comes to something like blood libel, it's specific. It's not like they said, oh, we found children killed in this way, so we're going to just attribute it to this. Or we found them like this. We found some adults killed. We found, they didn't. It wasn't that. It was that they would keep finding children discarded in a well or in a, in a place where they can be found, because that's part of it. Part of the ritual is to not hide the body, but just dispose of it so it can be found. But these were always people who either had their throat slit or who had tons of tiny little holes in them, and they were bled dry. And this has been associated with them for as long as we keep track of things. And you have to ask yourself, why, if it's wrong and it's not true, why does something so specific follow this group no matter where they go? No matter where there happens to be large populations of them, there just also happens to be these seemingly ritualistic murders that take place. Morning, Matt. Same thing with well poisoning. Show me another group that's known to poison drinking water systems. Have you ever even heard of it? Have you ever heard of people poison? Like, it's not even something most of us think about. Like that's just too far, right? You don't just poison the drinking water that can affect everyone in that region. Shit, that could potentially affect your guys. Why would you do that? Yet it's consistently associated with the people who are committing genocide by dropping bombs on tents, you know, killing women and children left and right. You know, I posted this thing that's the biggest killer of children this year as well as last year in the world is Israel. Israel kills more children than anyone else, than anything else, than cancer, than, you know, starvation, any of that shit. Israel is killing more children than anything else. Just think about how fucked up that is. And of course, look at the comments, right? These kind of comments, just these type of facts don't affect the commenters. The commenters are mad at me for pointing these things. Why would you be mad at me for this? Why would you be trying to disrupt? Why would you, you know, be opposed to the guy that's trying to expose this and eventually, hopefully, put a stop to it all? Like, who would do that? Is that something your average atheist would do? Is that something your average Christian would do? Who's going to be mad at me for talking about these things? It seems like it's pretty telling, you know, because it's not like they're going to come on here and like acknowledge the shit and be like, yeah, we're horrible Jays and we do these things. No. There's only one group that's like this. And it's the one group that's like this in so many different ways. And the reality is it's a cult. It's just a cult. It's an insane cult. And it just believes some of the worst things possible. And it's, you know, they use their religious bullshit. Like, the only reason Christianity matters, the only reason Islam matters, is so that their thing can matter. Right? That's the only reason why they've made such a big deal out of religious freedom, protect our religious freedom, and all that bullshit. The reality is, as we've gone forward, the goofy ass religion that they used to use to you know, explain everything, that every aspect of it is getting destroyed nowadays. Like, I love when you know, Christians talk about space. Christians talk about other planets and you know, NASA this and going to the moon or all that bullshit. It just shows you how fucking insanely stupid you are because you don't know your own shit. But you would think as time has progressed, we would have moved past all of it. Because obviously it's stupid. I mean, I don't understand how your average Christian, like, unless you haven't read the Bible, how do you think it's a Christian book? It's so stupid. Like, the Bible is clearly written by them for them. Well, written by them, about them, for us, or for you Christians. But for us as Goyim. But like I say, you would think we would have evolved past that as we started flying, as we started, you know, going into the microbiology aspect of things and all this other stuff. You would think we would have moved past it. But they've if anything, they've done everything they can to strengthen it. Like, why are faith healers allowed on TV? Right? Like, we absolutely 100% know that faith healers are bullshit scam artists. The guy you were talking about the other day was Kenneth Copeland. The guy talking about needing to be on the jet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Kenneth Copeland. And he's just, you look at that man's face, you look at him when he smiles, and it's just dripping evil.
Oh, his eyes. It's in his
He's
eyes. They
just
turn
such a
red.
horrible, horrible, awful person. And we know that these televangelists have duped, you know, really needing people who are in desperate, desperate situations. They've duped them out of their last dime. They've convinced people not to take medical procedures that end up killing the people. You know, these televangelists are just shit. The 700 Club, literally every single episode, they do the thing where they close their eyes really, really hard. You got to close your eyes hard. You can't just close it. Yeah, you know, close them hard. And apparently, they can pull prayers, asks out of the ether, and through the TV program that you're watching, they can command Jesus to touch and heal your wounds. Not like you first and last name you. No, they don't ever do that. They don't ever be like Sally Wojciechowski in Livonia, Michigan on you know on Scepter Street or whatever. They're never specific about it. It'll be like I'm sensing a Susie from Minnesota. Susie from Minnesota with a knee pain. And it just so happens that like 2 weeks earlier, Susie from Minnesota pledged in a couple $1,000 seed. A Susie from Minnesota pledged a couple $1,000 seed. And when you pledge your stuff, they ask you, well, you know, is there anything you want Pat to pray for you for? Oh, well, not too much. I mean, I have this bum knee that's really been bothering me, but you know, there's so much going on in the world. I just do right with the money. Don't worry about my knee that I have to have surgery on, and the doctor thinks it's really bad, and blah 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 blah. And then lo and behold, Pastor, I'm sensing Susie. Susie from Minnesota with a bad knee.
Oh my god.
Guess what? We wrote a song about that one too. We wrote a song about that one too. It's called 700 Clubs. We have songs about all this stuff. Because why should your music like think about the lesson they learned from the 60s. Right? Like the music created a cultural revolution that almost got out of their control. If they hadn't brought in the coke and the disco and the nonsense, it would have gone in really, really, you know, damaging directions. You know, imagine if they hadn't killed Jimi Hendrix. Imagine the because of his cross-racial fame. Imagine the amazing things that Jimi Hendrix could have done as far as society goes. Because he had started to figure it out when they killed him. And they absolutely killed Jimi Hendrix. His autopsy says he drowned in wine. It wasn't like he yeah. I mean, it really is shocking how they've managed to, and again, that it's legal, but how they've managed to trick people with their televangelism. And again, can anybody tell me why that's legal? Like, I've actually struggled with it myself, knowing that what I do, especially when you look at the birthdays thing, would really translate well into selling Jesus. And I could probably make a lot of money selling Jesus. And you would think my wife, who hates me and hates what I do and would love it if we made money, would like support me and like, no, you should do this. But it would kill me. It would just, I couldn't, the lying, I would feel like such a piece of shit liar.
There's no way.
Huh?
There's no way you would. There's no way that you personally could keep yourself from laughing in certain as you're reading certain passages, or like there's no way.
I think with enough practice I could.
Most of it, but there's no way.
And even if I did laugh at something, I could spin it, you know.
Maybe.
Oh, look at me getting that Holy Ghost, just making me feel so good. I'm just laughing, even though I'm reading this thing that could be pretty powerful. The Holy Ghost is telling me to laugh and you know, get through it with humor. Easy spun.
I better not be standing anywhere near you during that time.
Hearing me say that shit.
Oh, me too. It's hit me too. Sorry, guys.
But that's just it. See, the thing about the televangelist that I understand, I mean, it's just like prostitution, right? Nobody makes people go see prostitutes. People choose to go see prostitutes. People choose to go stick their dick in that garbage disposal. Like just what an insanity. What insanity it takes to think that that's a good idea. But you live in a society that's told you that for men, nothing's better than busting that nut. It's so stupid. I can't tell you how many times I've been like disappointed. Oh yeah, That's all it is. It's so weird. You know, we've been tricked into thinking it's so important that we have to. We have to. Our friends will make fun of us if we don't. And, you know, no, that girl's asleep. She was nice to you earlier in the day, so that must mean she likes you. Like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. Look at all these dumbass things people are saying. What?
Are you physically able to repair a spring on a door still, or no?
A garage door? There is no repairing a spring.
Oh, one of Gary's springs broke.
Yeah, he has to call Jeff and get it. He has the warranty.
Oh, you have the warranty?
It might cost him like the service fee, but Jeff will hook him up.
Okay.
It will work with one spring. Just don't do it if you need to get out of the garage and stuff, it'll work. What? Look on the back of Nick's jacket. We're giving you topics. Yeah, I don't want to talk about stupid shit. Everything you're talking about is just shit you're presented. You don't know how real it is. It's just a show they're putting on. Most of the time, it's a distraction. All this Egypt bullshit that's coming out about what's underneath the pyramids and all this other shit. Well, people have talked about it for decades. There's shit underneath the pyramids. All of a sudden, it's this big thing that everybody's talking about. Everything right now is about distracting us from Israel. distracting us from what that leads to. Because the Israel discussion, the when you're exposing Israel, it's going to bleed into the chosen. You can't just be like, oh, well, these are separate things. They're not. So everything is about trying to get us to opinion on distractions, obsolete guys, you dumb bots. Right, exactly. That's all it is these are distractions. Why would I give a shit? You have endless people out there talking about these same things, right? You really want to see somebody talk about Tutankhamun or some bullshit? There's going to be lots and lots of people out there that I'm sure you can find talking about it. Lots of videos, all sorts of things that you're allowed to partake in and look into and talk about. Why should I talk about those same things? Why, if I'm so bad at what I do and I'm so crazy, why do you want to hear my opinion on other things? It just seems strange to me. You want me talking about this, you want me talking about that. Why? I thought my opinion didn't matter. I thought my opinions were broken. And the thing is, again, these guys just don't realize that's what they're doing. That's what they're saying. They think they're throwing things off or whatever. I mean, you guys are providing the example I'm always talking about. The truth is, if you want answers to any of the things that people bring up, there is a truth, and it's probably well known in certain circles. But until we goyim, unify, and overthrow the Jays that control our narrative, it's going to continue the way it is. That's the only way you get the answers, the truth. The only way we'll ever get the truth to anything is if we overthrow who controls that truth. Because they've known the truth, they've just been lying to us. And if they've been lying to us, why would they start telling us the truth? What would be the reason? You just keep repeating the same thing and you just keep watching. I wonder why. Truth is sexy, man. Not that you want to fuck it, although I'm sure your girl does. But you're attracted to it. You're drawn to truth. You see the Grand Canyon and you're like, holy shit, this is a huge hole. This is the truth. We don't know what it actually is, but we're still drawn to it. It's how come especially you dumb Christians, how come you don't watch a Christian program? Why would you watch somebody so blasphemous like me? Especially since you can't make any reasonable arguments other than it's true. Why would you want my opinion on things other than because I tell the truth? It's just what it is. Yep. I'm insane because I think we need to stop. We need to kill pedophiles and stop the J control scheme. That makes me crazy. Look at it's like again, they're only programmed with so many responses. And if you back them into the corner and be like, yeah, so that'd be reasonable. If you have such an issue, then why are you here? Oh, because it's entertaining. So telling me I'm the most entertaining thing on the internet is supposed to bother me in some way? It's just stupid. No need to explain my... What a stupid ass. Then why do you constantly try to, you little weirdo? Right, this is the person that believes they're going to the same heaven as pedophiles as long as the pedophiles say they're sorry. It's all just ridiculous, man. And it's scary to think, like, how can people be this stupid? How do they, how does this person find their way to my feed in the first place? If it's really a real person and they're really this stupid, like, again, I cannot think that real people are this stupid. How could you possibly be dumb enough to think watching me every day, desperately trying to get my attention by saying stupid things, telling me I'm the most entertaining thing on the internet? Like, how do you think that that's going to make me feel bad or not motivate me? It just seems insane. But it's the same sort of, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel's stupidity. They said that, not us. They're the ones who said, if you look into what we've done, it makes us look really, really bad. This is how stupid they are. That's probably like one of the worst parts of this, is that such an inferior species is the one that's running the show. They're so inferior in every way. The only thing that separates them from us is, one, the unity, and two, their psychopathy. The fact that they're fucking psychopaths, that they're willing to do the worst of the worst things. There are so many doctors who have come forward, and they brought the x-rays with them to show that the Israelis are shooting children in the head from far away, but they're shooting children in the head. The bullets you can see it with the x-ray. Who among you is willing to do that? Who among you is willing to kill children? Probably the same people that are willing to rape them, right? But how many regular people, real people, think like, the shit starts popping off, I'm aiming for kids? Who's gonna do that? Nobody. Nobody. And to take it any further and to not look at it for what it is, it just shows you where you are. If you want to believe in the God that doesn't seem to care about kids being raped and killed, like, just what a weird, you have to be so fucked up to think along those lines. And of course, all the shit talkers refuse to prove they're real. All they have to do is make a simple video proving they're real, and then they have at least ability on here. They could try to get some credibility on my feed, since they obviously care about my opinion so much. So why wouldn't they want to be credible? It's incredible, don't you think? Why don't you go fight for those kids over there? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. 46-year-old man with busted body parts and fucking thousands and thousands of miles away. The best thing I could do would be go over there and fight for them. Not fight for them here, trying to reach as many people as possible, and then change the way we see things. No, again, I should throw on my red bandana and my grenades on my chest and get my big knife and go fight them myself. Go fight the Israelis myself. Like, just stupid. That's the best they can come up with. And it's not that they denounce it. Yeah, fuck that. We absolutely need to end these pedos, and we need to end this J control and all that. Nah. It's that I should go fight. Just stupid, man. Just stupid. Speaking of the noses, think about it. When I was growing up, nose jobs were so common that people, that they were included in the that people, the plot of shows was based around people getting nose jobs. And, the majority of the people, the goyim that they don't need nose jobs. So what was the point of the nose jobs, right? The nose jobs were about hiding identity, right? Because air is free. Ah. Ah. That's funny. But think about it. Like they were hiding their identity, just like they changed their names. Why did they all change their names? Kirk Douglas and all these other guys that have these crazy goofy J names, but they changed it to something more American. Well, who were they hiding from? It's not like they needed to hide their J identity from the studio heads and the people in charge, because, B and J is how you get the gig. So who were they trying to hide their identities from? Changing their names, getting nose jobs. It's us. They're trying to hide from us. They knew that they had to keep it, like back when it first started, when Hollywood first started and all that shit. The average American wasn't a J fan. They knew they couldn't just bombard us with only J's and we'd be like, oh, that's just normal, natural. No, they knew they had to slowly do the slow build. And the thing is, when you're doing the slow build, but you have all the control, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's not as good as it can be, but it's better than it is for most of us. But they slowly built the buffer zone, and as they said in Hollywoodism, they made the America into what they wanted it to be. And when you understand, like that means they wrote the history books. You realize, like, the only reason you believe in Alexander the Great is because they say that he existed. The only reason you believe in Caesar and all of these guys is because they say they existed. You personally, you have no proof. You don't know any of that shit. You don't have access to the original this or that tells the truth, supposedly. And even if you did, you probably wouldn't be able to read it because, surprise, surprise, the people back in the day spoke different languages. Even the English from 100 years ago is so much different than it is today. Are you from the West? Yes, we all are. We all are from someplace west of someplace else. What the hell does that even mean? Yeah. Funny thing is people think about that shit, and those names, that terminology actually shows you that we live in not on a ball flying through space, blah blah blah, that we live on something that's stationary. Because there's a West and an East and a Middle East and there's all that shit. It's just a clever name. But it's all the same, man. It's all the same. It's all about control. The narratives of control. If you believe they have nuclear weapons, then you believe the Samson option is real. And if you believe the Samson option is real, well, then you're not going to fucking try to, flip that switch. As long as you believe they have the nuclear weapons, then they have them. They might as well have them. It's all about just controlling your belief. Which is strange too, because so many people believe that God is everywhere. At least they say they do. Like, if people really believed in God, they would live completely different lives. I don't think any Christians actually believe in that shit. Gun to their head, do you really believe in this? Give me some reasons why you believe in this. They wouldn't fucking have anything. Because you can't. It's 2025. You know there's no God. You know that shit's bullshit. If you believed in God for real and you believed that there was any chance that you could ever go to hell, which means you would burn for all of eternity in hell with the devil and his mustache and his pitchfork, and he's poking you, the devil. Oh, he's a devil. If you actually believed in that shit, oh, that's the baby. You would do everything you could to not go there. Right? You would think you would do everything. You would, knowing that having sex before you get married is a one-way ticket to hell means you wouldn't do it. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't risk going to hell for all of eternity to get a little nut here and there. But then again, you're only supposed to have sex for procreation purposes, so you wouldn't do that. I mean, there's so many things that you believe there's a God that's here, 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 here. He can see everything at all times. He already knows it's all going to happen anyway, but he's watching every single thing you do. It's the ultimate big brother. And you're out there cheating people, lying to people, stealing, not living your biblical life. Why not? That seems pretty hypocritical to me. Or more telling, actually. More that you understand that shit's not real. If you thought that shit was real, you'd never bother. You do everything you could possibly do. You call out things that are wrong. You'd do the right thing at all times, and you'd stand up for people, and you'd live that biblical life that you're supposed to. But you don't. And it's because it's bullshit. That's where the grace of Christ comes in. According to what? Bible's not full of grace and compromise. The Bible is very specific. You better do this or else. But see, again, it's that Christian mentality that, well, God has grace. God, Jesus, actually Christ has grace. Like, you just make up shit as you go so it can fit your narrative to accommodate your buffoonery, your fuckery. There's no fucking way you could live that. I mean, in today's society, if you tried to live the Christian life, you'd go to prison. If you killed your disobedient children and just so many stupid things. If you did that shit, you'd go to prison. But like, you would never miss going to church. You would never miss, just any of it. You would do it to a T if you thought there was the slightest chance that you could go to hell. For all of that God that loves you so much. Like, I can't imagine my kids do something that I don't like, and it's not even like a big thing. It's like, oh, well, you did this, and I told you not to do this, but you did it anyway. I just don't love you anymore. I'm going to sentence you to life in fucking prison forever and hell and burn. And like, what kind of all-loving fatherly God would do such horrible shit? But it's all about, like, it's all about providing the excuse. They give you the excuse. They give you the loopholes so you can continue to believe that they are God's chosen people, which is the sole reason why you're a Christian. Christianity only exists so that their shit can exist, because they couldn't have a club like that and this exclusive club based in spirituality and all that shit, if they didn't let us have a club, you know, if it was just like, no, you can't be, you can't do anything. Nope, this is our thing and our thing, and that's how it is. But because they give you the secondary, you're dumb enough to believe it. I just think it's so fucking wild. Could you imagine if you had to circumcise your own child? Would you do it? You think a jobless, delusional druggie with a YouTube live stream? Modern day Jesus, baby. But again, this is the like I can't argue with what you're saying, so I'm gonna try to insult you. You hurt my feelings by what you're saying, so I'm gonna try to hurt your feelings back. Like it's such middle school kind of bullshit, and it just shows you again that the people that are here every day that apparently they don't have a job, but I should, because that matters. That's gonna make the difference here. If you knew that I was working, which you don't even know that I don't, you just assume that I don't. But if you that would change everything. That would change everything. That would somehow make it so you were capable of addressing the things being said. Like this is how stupid they are. And they hope that you're this stupid. They hope that you fall for this shit. You know? Because they can't argue anything I'm saying. I'm holding Christians accountable, and nobody wants to be held accountable, right? Right? They don't want to be held accountable to the fact that they don't do as they're supposed to do. They don't live the lives they're supposed to live. I'm It's always interesting, man. It just shows you, it's what you, if you're willing to see it, they're showing it to you. You should find it pretty funny that there's never anybody that claims to be religious that comes on here and does even a slightly decent job at having a conversation or even knowing their thing. The one dude, he kept misquoting the Bible. Oh, I think it's this. Oh, I think it's that. And then I'd read the Bible verse and he'd be like, oh, well, no, it must be something different. Because it's all they have. They're stupid. They're stupid. And stupidity is the biggest obstacle right now. Overriding the stupidity that has been manufactured into us. You might not be stupid. You might be someone that can be given a problem and you figure it out, or you know, you 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 can you can regurgitate a bunch of shit, right? Whatever it is, whatever the gauge on stupidity is. A lot of times it's whether or not you can regurgitate the narrative that you're supposed to have. But when the narrative is stupid, they end up having you stupid and you don't even realize it. Everything that has to do with the earth being round is fucking stupid. It's just stupid. It's so goofy. And the arrogance and claiming that they know about it and all, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You would think that Christians would stumble across the page, the video, Ruining our name again. Unworthy of that name. I mean, it's a biblical name, so who gives a fuck? Shit like that's just stupid. I don't even bother reading what that dumbass says. I already know he's not going to say anything of intelligence. He's already proven himself time and time again. So, I might catch a thing or, here or there, but I love the fact that he puts in a bunch of effort to write out some long ass stupid comment and I'm not even going to read it. How many of you would continue watching a page that did that to you? I assume it's none of you. But if that's your job, if that's how you get your bills paid, if that's what your program says, then of course you're going to do it. You do as you're programmed to do.
Sweetheart?
Hmm.
Here.
Yellow.
Sorry, he's got garage door questions, and I am not the garage door gal.
Yeah.
That would be his department.
Well, it's super heavy. It's got, it's only got
Watch out, kitty. Anyhow, and I'm just walking in the door, so I have absolutely no idea what you guys are jabbering about at the moment. There is always a way to get in your garage if your door is broken, apparently. I do not know these ways. Oh my goodness. Cut a watermelon today, and it was so fragrant that the house still smells like watermelon. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Puppies. They always like it when I come down and give them some love. Because we're so abusive and mean. Oh, and this one's jealous. This one's jealous. Oh, we finally have some sunshine and it's a beautiful day out. It is much needed because boy, oh boy, has it been shitty around here. Oh my goodness.
Well, you still got the good ones. They weren't coded, but they were still the good ones. Remember to...
My stepdad will ask him 5 million questions while he's got him on the phone now. Hold on, Mo. I'm trying to set the phone up so I have 2 hands and clean your face. My poor puppy. He's got a little bit of an eye infection going on. And yes, he does. So, put a little lavender around his eyes. And that helps. So if you put lavender on a dog, around their eyes, I will show you.
You don't have your receipt anywhere?
Oh, he's trying to get ready to go.
Yeah. Right. All right.
Will you get the lavender out for me? Thank you. I was doing a little tutorial. So this lavender has coconut oil in it. Come here, you. Let's show. So you never put it near their eyes. You just kind of do it around.
You're so funny if you just bite you.
No, he's a good boy.
Infections. Do you want to do your tea?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Tea. Absolutely. That didn't work. Oh.
Oh.
My father-in-law's garage door springs finally broke. It's only been like 12 years or some shit. Yeah, I mean, it was done before I got hurt. I got hurt in 14, right? No, I put him in. I put him in. No, I put the door and the opener and all of it in. Quickly. Whose hair? I think your hair grows to the length it's supposed to be. You know, and I think like one of the worst things we do is cut our split ends. Because if you look at it like they're there to collect energy, well, what's going to collect more energy? One or a V like that, right? So they've tricked women, especially, into clipping their split ends because that's a bad thing. Because, you know, people will look at you and see that at the tip of one of your hairs, it's actually split in two. They'll see that. So you got to clip those off. And then when you clip them off, your hair grows. It makes your hair grow longer. But if you don't cut your hair, I believe your hair grows to the length it's supposed to be for you. Look at this. Look at this cemetery. Louisiana cemetery. Such insanity. Such insanity. You know, my hair always used to grow really fast. And now it seems like my hair is basically the same length it's been for quite a few years. Considering the last time I had a haircut, you would think my hair would be a lot longer. But that's all speculation. Who knows? Another one of these things that we can't know the answers to. This dumbass just said it's harder to comb through hair when there's split ends. No, it's not.
It gets tangled easier.
No, it doesn't. That's silly. It is silly.
Did you get a jar?
Mm-mm. Nope. 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 Sorry.
Did you get a jar?
I said no. And then you said, can I have one? And I said no. Nayin on a jar.
It's funny, it's kind of going back full circle. They used to call it a lid. We call it a jar. In between, it was a bag. Or a tube from the dispensary. I don't know. I disagree. I've had long hair my entire life, and I know that when it gets trimmed, it grows a lot faster. So, do I think our hair will reach a limit of growth? Probably, and I think that's different for everybody. I think it's based on how often you brush it, how often you wash it, your size of your pores, your, you know, acidity level within your body, your nutrition. I think all of that is all connected. Again, we're a biological system and everything works synergistically. So, you know, and it all kind of, there's so many variables that there's very few constants in anything like that. So, like
There's lots of vowels, though.
after my mom had, chemotherapy and lost all her hair and it grew back, it grows back completely different. Her pH levels in her body are different. Everything's different. Her nutrition level, and that's affected her hair growth and consistency of her hair and all of that.
I mean, it's just like everything else, man. We're told narratives. We had a Spectrum guy show up yesterday.
Oh my gosh, what a salesman he was.
What a salesman he was.
Had he gone to anybody else's store around us, they would have bought it hook, line, and sinker, except for maybe him next door and Marvin.
Maybe.
Everybody else would have bought all his bullshit.
I mean, it was all silly. Well, let me ask you this. You could see him like looking down, like his wheels turning, trying to figure out.
Answer my question like this. That was my favorite one. Like, no, you're gonna tell me how to answer your question? Then why ask me the question?
It's all the same shit. I can't blame the guy. He's trying to make a living, doing a good job. He's a good salesman. There you go.
All I see are complaints about service and billing over and over in the Redford groups. Oh, well, you can't believe those groups because everybody likes to complain.
Right.
But how many of them? Well,
I see lots of good comments. That's what the groups are for. They point out the good stuff and point out the bad stuff.
there are always going to be the people that say, oh, I've always had them and they've always been fine for me. Okay, well, again, there's variables to everything. How often do you use it? What do you use it for? What time of day do you typically use it? Like,
why should I believe you? I just kept thinking of Gordon Flowers and how Alex Rosen always says, oh, I have an uncle in this, or oh, I have I have family in this, like he doesn't
mean they're any good.
he's just relating to you. That's all. It doesn't mean it's true. He's just relating to you. It's a sales tactic. Sales is fun. I miss it. I wish I could do the shit. I wish I could change my life, make things better, and but I can't. I can't fucking do it, and it sucks. But I mean, it's the same shit everywhere you look. People believe what they want to believe. People have no real reason to believe what they do. They just want to. It's one thing if, like, we're talking about cable service, then yeah, if you have good service, then you believe it. But then you'll believe that the good service costs this amount of money compared to the bad service that uses the same towers and shit.
Or that, they've had cell phones for 7 years and suddenly their technology is just as good as the people that have been doing cell service for 20 years.
Well, again, the fact is there's only so many towers. So everyone is using the same towers. So the service should all be the same. And you paying for more shouldn't mean you get, you paying more money shouldn't mean you get better service. As a server, you don't give people better service because you think they're going to tip more, or give people worse service because you think they're going to tip less. You know, whether you're sweeping the floor or you're designing a building or whatever it is, you do the best job you can possibly do. It's about you. You have to do the best for
But
you.
think about that though. There's a lot of people that act that way. I've worked with tons of servers that were like, "Oh man, I got a table with a black family. They're not gonna pay me shit."
And those
So
were
they
shitty,
don't.
but those and sure, that's right. And you should still give good service because you never know. There could be somebody watching you, you know, and think, oh man, I feel bad for this person. They got this table who didn't tip them, but they put on such great service. Let me throw some extra money in there. I mean, you just never know.
You never know, and you know, somebody that's really interested in doing their job well didn't behave like that. But I
Yeah, most people do, but that's because most people are fucking. They're stupid.
oh, I know this family, they tip really good and they're all on top of their table and great service and you know, and then they get a table full of teenagers and they're like, what do you want? Do you want a Coke too? Do you want a Coke too?
I mean, if I had the teenagers of the black family, I went into it knowing there's probably not going to get what I thought I should get, but it was still more than what I mean, I'm there. You're fucking there.
Well, and I always thought, okay, well, maybe this is their first time here. Maybe they had a bad experience last time they came here. Let me give them really good service and hope that brings them back again and they'll see me and they'll, you know, it'll make a positive impact on their experience.
I never cared about that shit. It's not about the other people. It's about you. Bitch. You have to do your best for you. If you're doing anything other than doing it because it's the right thing to do, you're doing it for the wrong reason. It's the right thing to do. I guarantee if I used my talents to sell Jesus, especially wrote songs selling Jesus, those songs would work. People would love it.
Partly because there's no good Jesus songs and you would be like prophetic.
I guess.
But
It's just it's just whatever. As long as you have that label, there are a lot of people that will listen and like because of the label. Not everybody thinks like that though. They should, but are happy to coast. Yeah, well, and they shouldn't affect you. They shouldn't affect the way that you do things.
yeah, well, it's a lot more work to scan everybody's glasses and when they're halfway done with their drink, just automatically bring them a new one. That's a lot of work. Why do all that extra work if you're not going to get compensated for it? And that's their feeling. And I understand that, you know. And yes, it's extra work.
Because if you don't, then when you least expect it, they're going to be like, "Can I have some more?" And now you're stuck getting them the drink while you actually have to you got a new 7-top that just came in and you're trying to do the best on the 7-top and now these fucking idiots want the drink. So, yeah, I mean it works out. It just is, and this is such a vague example. And I'm much more talking about in the real life big world. Maybe happy clappy in the eye. You know, again, I
personally preferred to wait on anybody under the senior citizen age because those people, yeah, they'll. I mean, it's not about whether they're going to tip me or not, but you know, they're bitter and crabby and particular and you know expect a lot.
I don't know. I had such a, I never had problems like that. Somebody was a shitty old person, I'd come in and just be goofy to them. I'd have fun with it. And whether they were stayed mad or whatever, it was all just part of the game for me. But it's on a much bigger scale is what we really need to focus on, and that's,
Yeah, but those
are you
relatable
doing
things.
the right thing in your life? Like if you were going down the street and you saw, a group of children being hurt, being killed, being whatever, would you stop it? Maybe you couldn't necessarily stop it personally, but would you call somebody that could? Would you do anything other than just ignore it and pretend like it's not happening?
People ignore that type of shit all the time.
Yeah. And that's wrong.
They don't want to get
But at the
involved.
same
They don't
time,
want to get hurt or in trouble or be bothered.
at the same time, our system fails us. You know, if PS means you're much they're much higher risk of being trafficked than they are any other way.
I still don't think that the vast majority of people believe that or realize that. Unfortunately, you know, people that have not dove down the same rabbit holes. That's not common. That's not like
Yes, Mr.
priests molest kids and everybody's like, yeah, that's you say
I don't
CPS
remember.
is responsible for
It used
the
to be
majority of
285.
child trafficking, and most people are not going to say, oh yeah, totally. It's still a common misperception that CPS is there to protect kids, unfortunately, and that needs to be made more aware.
I mean, like I've said time and time again, the revolution isn't piece by piece. It's the whole thing. And there absolutely should be a program that exists to help children who were born into really bad situations. But that shouldn't lead to
That
worse,
right.
right?
Right. It should be a non-corrupt system. There should be no greed involved with that type of a service.
And anytime there is an accusation, that needs to be handled properly. Instead of just like, oh, well, you know, my hands are tied. That's above my pay grade.
And again, it has to do with the whole system because, you know, you look at things like, okay, if the child's a minor, then they can't be questioned without an adult representing them. And I understand, children can be coerced. Children lie.
Well, that's because we need to get rid of the bad cops.
So it's on so many different levels that would have to
Let me ask
change
you
and work
this.
together.
Do you
for
think
that to work.
if CPS was given $3.8 billion more per year, we could probably get some better people involved and fix a lot of the problems?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There would be foster homes where the people weren't fucking pieces of shit looking for slaves.
Right.
Absolutely. That just want that government check and lock the kids up in a cellar.
But see, that seems to be the way, like when you look back to the orphan train days and shit like that, that's what it's always been.
That's even in the medieval portrayals. That's exactly how it's been. You were, you know, an orphan or a bastard child, then you had a life of servitude. Slavery. Only
But
you don't,
the thing is, what they've done is they've figured out a way to make it so we're all just comfortable enough to think we're not slaves.
Right.
Yet every single one of us is, you know, a bad decision or an unlucky this or that, car crash, whatever it is, away from being homeless.
Especially nowadays because the cost of living for a shelter.
It all just keeps going up for some reason. We don't know why. You know, would they say they found 100 million or 100, was it 100 million or 100 billion? They found all that extra money that was just Trump and Elon Musk found all this extra money that, well, what's better because of it?
Where did that money go?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else about it. It disappeared.
Documented accounting of the funds and where they were allocated to? For what purpose and who voted on it?
It's like that senator said the other day in that one video I showed you. If Elon is right in doing the right thing and you know, and his programs are going to make everything better and all, why isn't he there presenting it? Letting everyone see, like, this is how it works. So restaurants, it used to be $2.85 an hour plus your tips. I don't know what it is now, obviously. But, you know, for me, the idea of no matter how hard I work, I'm not going to make any more money. It just seems stupid. You know, unless you're making like $25, $30 an hour, then any sort of hourly wage is sort of a joke. You know, why would I work just as hard as this other person, or why would I work harder than the other person who is, you know, it behooves me to take longer. It behooves me to milk the clock and what I have a family to feed. I could get this job done in 2 hours, or I could make it take 4 hours. Well, you know, that it's like the Walmart thing. You know, I don't want to shop at Walmart. I don't want to support Walmart, but I don't have any choice.
Don't want to be poisoned by their shit ass chemical.
Right. Absolutely. But it's so hard to, to justify paying so much more elsewhere and costing the family in other ways. And again, it just proves to you that it's a system-wide problem. It's not this individual thing or that individual thing.
Shit, Maria said it. I saw Dick's granddaughter, Maria. She lives in Poinciana, North 7. She was outside mowing her lawn this morning. And she was talking about, yeah, today's the one day a week I get to work from home. Now my job has me going between Brighton and Plymouth and I think Ferndale to different offices all throughout the rest of the week.
Plymouth and Ferndale aren't too bad, but Brighton is ridiculous.
She goes, I hate going out to Brighton. It's just such a long drive and it makes for such a... She's like, but, what can we do? We're all slaves to our jobs, right?
Do you support India or Pakistan? I support the people of those places. Do I support their chosen puppet governments? No. It's all bullshit. There's this documentary that I saw, and it was about what life was like in the slums, in the slums in India. And they would show, like, the slums would be, like, butt up right next to these giant high-rise fucking, really expensive apartments and whatnot. And of course, there's a big wall, and then it's policed very hard. But you get down deep into the slums and you realize, like, it's a lot cleaner than you would expect it to be. And the people aren't trying to fuck you. Everybody there is in the same boat, and they're trying to help each other. And there was this one guy who had figured out a way to recycle laundry soap containers into a leather-like material that he then made handbags, and he said his goal was to rival Gucci one day, and but he made these beautiful handbags, and because of his efforts, because of his ingenuity, he had all these employees, all these people who would just be asked out. If not for this guy, there's the people that collect the things, there's the people that wash the things, there's the people that do the processing, and then, he had like 25, 30 employees, whatever it was. And of course, there's literally no regulation. He's just doing this on his own. And I just can't help but think, like, if India or these slums were given $3.8 billion a year, do you really think somebody that ingenious, somebody that creative, that driven would do nothing?
I mean, yeah, and in some cases, because he's driven by destitute. Without the destitute, you're not always as driven. So
sometimes, yes, and yes,
that's the majority.
That's not the majority. The majority of the people, if their lives were paid for, sure, especially if they've worked hard for a long time, or they're exhausted, or they're broken, they would take it easy. They wouldn't do shit for a little bit. But after a little bit, you're gonna get bored. And most people will make their lives better if given the opportunity to. Yes, there are going to be some pieces of shit that take advantage. And why would I let that piece of shit affect me? Why would I do this if that guy's just going to sit there and milk it? Okay, well, are you like comparing yourself to that guy? That guy's a piece of shit. You know? But maybe, just maybe, he'll have a kid that does something great. Or the example I love to use is, so
Shit breeds shit.
let's just say, not always. A lot of the best, you know, the best and the brightest throughout history supposedly came from destitute. But let's just say, you know, the piece of shit lives with his mom, drinks all day, fat fuck, you know, he's on disability for being fat. And he walk into the store one morning to get his morning fifth. And he's just bitching about how bad life sucks. I hate this bullshit, all these fucking kids. Shut up, all you dumb kids. You know, he's mad. And as he's walking down the sidewalk, boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, some kid who was climbing a tree that he didn't notice fell out of the tree and fell on top of him. And of course, that, you know, that hurts a little bit for both people, but the kid jumps up and runs away. Thanks, mister, and runs off. And the guy's like, you motherfucker, come here, you dumb kid. Oh, and he gets up and oh, my neck. Oh, wow. And that kid goes on to cure cancer. Is that fat dude who prevented him from smacking his head on the concrete and losing the cure for cancer, is he any less valuable to the equation in the long run? No. They're an orchestra who play on instruments all made of rubbish stuff. The kids learned them also. It was phenomenal to catch. India has 50 million Jays. Pakistan has 0. I had no idea. I mean, 50 million Jays is a lot of Jays. But it would make sense when you look at India being one of the places in the world where the difference between classes is the most obvious. You know, it's one of those places where there's just like a line cut and dry between upper class, middle class, and lower class. You know, I don't support that cult in any fashion, any version of it, anything. I just think it's at the end of the day, like one of the most fundamental tenets in that belief is that they are born superior to the rest of us. I don't care how nice you are to my face or what proper things you say when the camera's on. If you believe that you're chosen by God and the rest of us are just goyim here to service you, like, there's no okay with that. You can be a good person without that shit, so why would you need that shit? You know, if you support Matitza Bipa, you support Brit Milah, which leads to Matitza Bipa, you're a piece of shit. You're as bad as it gets. I don't care if you actually do it or perform it, or if you know it's happening and you don't say anything against it, you're a piece of shit. The caste system implemented by good old Biggity, I believe. I mean, it's just is what it is. It's, you know, there's always going to be differences. You know, there are going to be people that do more and there are going to be people that do less. But it's what we deem to be valuable that's the issue. We've been taught that money and stuff equates value instead of contribution equating to value. So if you were measured by your contribution, whether it was some sort of art, some sort of invention, you know, just some sort of, you're a good person and you help people spiritually or socially or psychologically, whatever it is, but your contribution and how much you help If that was what our value was in, it would be a different situation. Britain. Gotcha. I mean, the whole. We're still just talking about a scenario that, like, if you go to. See, here in the States, we don't see it as much. You can go downtown and you can see, huge examples of these buildings that don't make no sense. But you sort of have, and you can drive around, like here in Detroit, you can drive around and you don't have to go too far before you start finding buildings that just don't quite kind of fit. Churches especially. The churches are just everywhere with their big circular window in the front. It's there's definitely something to it. But over in Europe, France and all these, Britain and Spain, all these places, the landscape is so telling. It's so much more than we here in the States even realize. Like, you just go anywhere and you see these ancient buildings, these palaces, these parliament buildings, these whatever they are, these long, huge buildings, these whole sections, these star fort cities and shit like that. That shit is everywhere. It's really amazing that people haven't sort of caught on yet. Like here, it's hidden. Here you see this, it's just your standard, typical life in the United States. But anywhere you look over there, it's like you guys live in just in such an incredible place. Not to mention there's catacombs underneath all of it. Got one over the back garden wall, circular window, Masonic cross and all. Oh, it hurts. Look this up real quick. Let's just look this up. Palace of Versailles. This is the inside of the Palace of Versailles. Adorned ceiling to floor, big giant room. Like, who did this accommodate? Can you imagine just trying to clean this area? But just think about, look at how beautiful that is. That is. It's unbelievable. It's not believable. Here you go. Here's an outside picture. Oh, here's another picture. These things are just. Here's one of the inside areas, inside courtyards. Like, the place is just gigantic. It's so much bigger than it's there. Here. Here's another example of just how big it is. That's just part of it. Grounds. Look at how far the grounds go out. And the water. Look at that waterway that just comes straight from as far as you can see in the horizon. It's definitely not a natural waterway. Oh, here's another great one. Look at this shit. It's just the gardens. All right, so let's just see here. The Palace of Versailles, Chateau de Versailles, is a former royal residence commissioned by King Louis XIV, located in Versailles, about 18 kilometers, 11 miles west of Paris, in the He aligns, I don't know, Department of Le de France region in France. Jesus Christ, just look at that. Just look at how crazy that is. In my grandparents' home, still where I'm staying at the moment, the village is full of it. Tiny village initially, but with 3 giant, beautiful churches. Magnificent work. Right. Who needed those churches? How? For what? Tiny little villages need these huge churches. And who built them? The palace is owned by the government of France and since 1995 has been managed under the direction of the French Ministry of Culture by the public establishment of the Palace, Museum and Natural Estate of Versailles. About 15 million people visit the Palace Park or Gardens of Versailles every year, making it one of the most popular tourist attractions in the world. Louis XIII built a hunting lodge at Versailles in 1623. And I love how history always refers to it like that. He built it. Did he build it, or did he commission a construction company to build it? And who was the construction company that built it? His successor, Louis XIV, expanded the chateau into a palace that went through several expansions in phases from 1661 to 1715. It was a favorite residence for both kings, and in 1682, Louis XIV moved the seat of his court and government to Versailles, making the palace the de facto capital of France. Again, think about what it would take. Oh shit. Somebody is flying the pedo flag. You should be removed. So if you're... Oh, you did it twice. All right, there you go. I was going to give you the opportunity to not. But if you're going to keep flying it, well, we don't let pedos exist here. Why would you think that would happen? I'm wrong, right? And yet, as always, you have these dumb jays that come in and say nothing. They're just stupid, and they do nothing but prove it. Coates built them, apparently, a prolific architect, builder, and mason, seemingly. Yeah, sure he did. We'll see. So you're saying Coates built the 3 churches in your town, all 3 of them. And again, what company did he use to manufacture all of the products? How did those products get to the building supplies? How did they get there? What architecture school did he go to? How did he know how to build buildings like that? And then, again, how to build them and where did they get all the pieces from and who paid for it? And, it's all, and how long did it take? What's the name of the village, Karen? The state of affairs was continued by Kings Louis the 15th and Louis the 16th, who primarily made interior alterations to the palace, but in 1789, the royal family and French court returned to Paris. Imagine what moving was like back then. If it's only 11 miles by car, that's not that bad. But this is the 1700s. What moving companies did they have? 2 men in some oxen or some shit? 2 men in a carriage? For the rest of the French Revolution, the Palace of Versailles was largely abandoned and emptied of its contents, and the population of the surrounding city plummeted. Really? Because that makes sense. This incredible palace that was built for this one dude, Napoleon, following his coronation as emperor, used the subsidiary palace, Grand Trianon, as the summer residence from 1810 to 1814, but did not use the main palace. Following the Bourbon Restoration, when the king was returned to the throne, he resided in Paris and it was not until the 1830s that meaningful repairs were made to the palace. A museum of French history was installed within it, replacing the courtiers' apartments of the southern wing. The courtiers' apartments. The palace and park were designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1979 for its importance as a center of power, art, and science in France during the 17th and 18th century. The French Ministry of Culture has placed the palace, its gardens, and some of its subsidiary structures on the list of culturally significant monuments. Oh, here you go. Versailles around 1652, an engraving. So, 1652, we were capable of doing this. Look at the meticulous grounds all around it, but look at the moat. Look how big the building was. Look at the little people right in front of you. I mean, it's just stupid. Who built that in 1652? Well, who built that prior to 1652 that somebody was there to make an engraving of it from way up in the sky? How did he have this view of this thing? What was he using to get this view? It's not like there's a mountain. In 1623, Louis XIII, King of France, built a hunting lodge on a hill in a favorite hunting ground 12 miles west of Paris. Now we're 12 miles west of Paris. And 10 miles from his primary residence, the Chateau de Saint-Germain-en-Laye. Oh, that's just this small little place. That was his main residence. Look how fucking big this place is. Look at how big. Like when you get down to the lower level and you start to try to put people in there, this thing is huge. Those aren't just regular stories. It's not like, oh, it's only 3 stories, 4 stories. This thing is gigantic. Is a former royal palace in the commune of Saint-Germain-en-Laye in the department of Yvelines. I don't know how to say these words. About 19 kilometers west of Paris, France. Today it houses the National Museum of Archaeology. The first castle, named the Grand Chalet, was built on the site by Louis VI in 1124. Because, you know, they all just become King Louis. The castle was expanded by Louis IX in the 1230s. It's just Saint Chapelle right there. It's all good.
Gorgeous.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Look at that archway at the top way up there. Who built that? We built this, right? They were making circular windows and shit back in the day. It's just no problem.
Tell Nick to let Rolly in.
Nick! Let Rolly in, please. Oh, thank you, bud. The St. Louis Chapel at the castle belongs to the Rayonnat phase of the French Gothic architecture in 1238. A 1238 charter of Louis IX instituting a regular religious service at the chapel is the first mention of the chapel having been built at the royal castle. So nobody had talked about this thing prior to, huh? This was a saint chapel to house a relic of the crown of thorns or the true cross. Yes. Which one? Which one was it? I swear, this is a piece of the original cross. I swear. I promise. This is one of the thorns off the original. They broke them all off and handed them out. Its plan and architecture prefigure the Saint Chapelle. Its plan and architecture prefigure the major Saint Chapelle, which Louis built within the Palais de la Cite at Paris between 1240 and 1248. Man, they were just building buildings back then, huh? Both built. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh my God. That's a drawing of it, obviously. But that's what that giant church spire. How'd they get that cross up there? All the walls around it and everything. Come the fuck on. You have to be incredibly stupid to think that they just did that shit. Yeah, man, look at this is just the drawings of what it used to look like. From the aerial view, of course, because they knew what it looked like from the air. Yeah, it's this big. It's that big. These must be the blueprints that they use to say, "Oh, look, we have blueprints." And yet, every single old picture, the people are always looking like this. There, my neck is broken. Just look at all of that shit. Look at how decadent and shit it is. These were and of course, did you notice the black and white mason floor? That checkerboard floor? That's just so nice to look at. Oh, here you go. 1515 to 1585. This just was a thing, I guess. Look how small the people are. They just built this shit, right? Oh, look at that must be when there was a bad thing that happened and one of the walls got broke to dead. See that? Oh yeah. Again, look at how small the people are compared to the gigantic buildings all around them. What the fuck is this? I mean, just look at this. Look at this painting. Look at the background buildings. Either you believe making up building. They painted the real building and then they put a bunch of fake buildings all around it to make the picture look better. Or that's what it looked like. This was the inside with yet again the checkerboard floor. Because can't have a nice building like this without a checkerboard floor. More of it. Checkerboard floor. This must be like a or some shit. Oh yeah. Fucking beautiful. We just built that. People on horses and donkeys and shit. And it's not like this is the one building that everybody just came together to build this and they worked and it took years and years and years and they finally accomplished it and they were all so proud of themselves and yeah. No. This is just one. Look at in the background. Just more of the buildings as far as the eye could see. All of this shit. Look at this. Who tamed the waterway? I always want to know that shit. How did they tame all the waterways back then? What did they use as the concrete in order to hold all the weight of that giant pallet? Right there next to the water like that? This is a drawing from, I can't find it. There's a picture from when it got blowed up. 1827 to 1923. Again, here you go. Look at how small the horse looks compared to the building. It's a horse. There you go. It's more of it. Yep, the big giant gate with the gold all over it. It seems like it's kind of stupid to put gold all over your gate. But hey, what do I know? Look how small the people are. Look how small people are. The giant clock system that they built on there, that, ornate clocks that were just super common and popular back then, that were built all over the world. Jesus Christ. Look at that, is just insane. More of the just normal shit, right? Look at the very top of the building. Why would you adorn the top of the building that no one can actually see with all kinds of shit that matters? Of course, naked cherub babies on there for some fucking weird reason. Gotta love those naked babies. I want to see somebody just put up one of those fucking columns right now. I'd love to see just one column be put up. That giant fucking door. Who's that door for? Why would you make a door that big? Look at how big that shit is. Look at the entranceway. Oh, gotta have the eagle on the top. The church at the back of me was sold off. But then the dude who bought it, naughty, and sold off the stained glass window. Not allowed, obviously, through contract. Big trouble. Little China. Of course, and there's the plaque to Napoleon. The guy that was exiled and he was so bad, blah, 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 blah. And then there's Pendicatus, who nobody cared about, so they let little shit beat in. Look at the waterway. How did they do that? How did they tame that waterway like that? Look at that. Oh yeah, gotta love the naked pubescent girl statue. You tell me how they did it. Well, they didn't. They didn't. Not the people we're told existed back then. Archaeological excavations have found traces of human habitation on Le de la site from BC until the beginning of the age, but no evidence that the Celtic inhabitants, the Parisi, used the island as their capital. Oh, this thing is on an island. Julius Caesar, the Tartarians. Yeah, maybe. I mean, at this point, the Tartarians are the most logical explanation, but until we overthrow the Jays that control the narrative, we don't have any real truth when it comes to the Tartarians, and that's the point. We need to overthrow the Jays that control the narrative so we can get the answers we're looking for. So we can get all the answers we personally want while stopping genocide, while stopping the pedophilia problem, while eliminating the slave masters. Right? Because that's what it comes down to. They are the worst, and they do the worst of the worst. Right? This is how it operates. And everything that exists out here that they give us is one distraction or another. The last thing they want us goyim doing and realizing like who has been doing this to us the whole time. It's all bullshit. Everything they give us is bullshit. The Australian narrative, right? The Australian narrative, how it came to be. We're much easier to control when we hate each other. when we're fractured and everybody believes their sky daddy is this. No, my sky daddy. No, your sky daddy. Like, when we hate, think we're so different. We're scared. Everything that they tell Eve is about fear. Even Tartaria has that fear element to it. Death, doom, and gloom. Whoever it was got wiped out to a reset. Think about Christians. The very best scenario for Christians is that their Jesus floats his happy ass down here, to the ground. 22 Christians, the 22 good Christians on the planet, they get evaporated, they get raptured. Sure is fun when this starts happening, isn't it? Isn't it cool how suddenly my feed just stops working? Just stop working. Suddenly I got to a place where the signal doesn't get to. The rapture bus roundup. It's so stupid. It is embarrassingly stupid. And it's all about telling people, like everything. Whether you believe in the round earth and in dinosaurs and shit, well, if you do, then you believe that at any point, any time, without warning, a rock can fall out of the sky and wipe everyone out. A rock can fall out of the sky. You believe it. And that's psychological damage done to you from in ways that you don't even think about. You don't even really comprehend, especially when we do that to children. Think about how fragile children's psyche is, right? And how dumb they are. They'll believe in a Santa Claus and shit like that. And you tell them that at some point there were these giant, badass, cool, tough-ass shit dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex, big teeth, scary, yada. And then at some point, a rock fell out of the sky and killed everybody. And, oh no, son, that can't happen. I mean, we're actually long overdue for it. But don't worry. Don't worry. Yep, the sun will explode one day. It'll grow to the size of a supernova gas giant, and then it'll eat up the first 3 planets, and then it'll shrink back down, and then it'll explode. But that's billions of years from now, sweetheart. Don't worry. The Jays are trying to shut you down. Of course they are. What do you think it is? Media play, very many celebrities are from there, and yet their entire population is less than one city. I don't know what it is about Australia. Something isn't right. I'm not going to say it's not there, but I don't think the world looks like we think it does. So to say it's not there at the bottom of the planet that's spinning around, yeah. I don't know where it is. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what to believe about the shape of the Earth. I still don't fully buy the flat Earth narrative, but I definitely don't believe the official globe narrative. There's something crazy going on in or past Antarctica or under it. It definitely doesn't look like they say it does. I mean, I think I hate talking about it because I'm not big on speculation. I like facts. But to me, it seems like the society we live in right now, is 50 years, 100 years, 500 years away from being able to build a dome that the things inside don't know they're in. And we have invisible cameras, we have shrinking technology, we have all these different things that can facilitate the greatest reality TV show in the world, or that's ever existed. And that's basically what I think we're in. A more advanced version of us has us in something that, that we don't understand that we're in, and that they have a lot of control agents in the way to keep us believing the nonsense we believe. That's right. Near where Australia supposedly is too. There's actually a lot of controversy around their nickname down under. People just don't like to talk about it. Looks like the moon's reflection and you tell me that looks the same as the world map. It doesn't. And it's flat as shown on the moon. How could that happen on a globe? Answer, it can't. I mean, I don't even think, when you start talking about the moon, the reflection, I always saw the Jurassic Park symbol in the moon. So when people talk about all sorts of weird shit, to me it was always the Jurassic Park symbol. And I don't know what I thought before that, but I never saw the man in the moon. I never saw what they said. But I also think it's strange that the moon lately, if you like, for the first time in my life, it's in phases, but the phases are vertical. I mean, it's strange.
Yeah.
It's you're seeing like a smiley face in the sky, and that's never happened. If you look at my wife has moon charts all over the place in our house, and if you look, none of the phases of the moon are ever vertical. It's always, or horizontal. It's always vertical. So, what's happening? I don't know. It sure doesn't fit the narrative we're told, but I don't think anybody's talking about it. Like if you go outside and look lately, I did it the other day. I was shocked. The moon is actually doing different things than it ever has. And of course, the biblical nonsense. Oh, the biblical end of times moon. Blah, blah. They're always going to look for every little thing. Like Christians, again, think about the psychology, the psychological damage that's been done to Christians, that they're always looking for it to be the end of times. Any little thing can happen, and a Christian will be like, oh, it's the end of times. It's the end of times. We're all going to die. It's the end of times. It's weird. But it's part of the narrative. You believe in ice ages. That means we're all going to die. You believe in pole shifts. Well, we're all going to die. And again, with everything, we're always long overdue for those things. There's evidence to show that pole shifts have happened multiple times in our past. And we're long overdue for one. Where the North Pole and the South Pole just switch suddenly and everybody dies from the sudden movement. You believe in super volcanoes underneath Yellowstone. And the super volcano is going to blow up. And when it blows up, everyone dies. And we're actually long overdue for it. It's really crazy how everything is death, doom, and gloom and psychologically damaging to believe. Think about children. You tell the children who believe in shit like Santa Claus that there's a super guy upstairs who loves you so much that he'll watch you get hurt and all that shit and get molested and all these crazy things. And then there's another guy down below. And he's got all these, he's like the dark Sith, he's got all the cool powers and shit. And at any point, Jesus is going to float out of the sky and then cause the rapture and everyone's going to die. Think about how fucked up that is to kids. How do kids reconcile that shit? The controversy largely surrounds the concept that the nation is actually not down or under in the true sense, yet some evidence points to that it once was relevant deception. I mean, come on. The continents don't move and all that. It's all just bullshit. If I live in Michigan. If I were to drill straight through the earth, I would end up in Australia. If I live like here. If I went straight through, I'd be here. The thing is, especially during the summer, June, when it's 9 o'clock at night here, and the sun is still above the horizon. All of the sun is still above the horizon, above the houses. I can still see the sun. And I've gone live and had the people in Australia who are 10 to 12 and a half hours ahead of us. So it's I think that's what it is. But basically it's like 9 in the morning there, and they can see the sun. How can we both see the sun? How come when it's 9 o'clock here in Michigan, I can see the sun above the horizon? It's still really light. In Florida, it'll be dark. I thought we tipped more towards the the reason the days are longer is because somehow the planet knows to tip. And it should be lighter, longer in Florida than it is here in Michigan, which is directly almost above Florida. That's not how it works. Same old shit it always is. If they don't move, what causes earthquakes? If they don't, so it's funny because you say that. So you believe that deep down, the continents are sliding against each other and pulling and pulling and pulling, and then what creates the earthquake is when one of those pieces snaps back up into place. Well, where is the evidence of giant ridges being formed where there weren't any beforehand? You'd think there'd be more evidence to that. You'd think there'd be more evidence to show that earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, that they were just as common back in the day as they are today. There's not. I mean, it's a well-known fact, it's not even a conspiracy, that extra low frequency waves shot into the ground can cause earthquakes. And HARP in HARP facilities create those extra low frequency waves that they can bounce off the dome and hit anywhere on the earth. Well, if it's a round ball, how could they hit anywhere? It's funny too. There's a G.I. Joe that came out, a G.I. Joe movie. My kids had it, and they actually talk about HARP is in that G.I. Joe episode, and Cobra takes over HARP and uses it as a weapon because it shoots the beam up into the sky. The beam dissipates around the atmosphere and then comes back together above the target and fires a giant laser down. Really, really interesting that G.I. Joe would be using that conspiracy in their programming. What do you think about the Hollow Earth and the Anunnaki? Well, everything that has to do with Nibiru, the Anunnaki, and all that shit, it all came from Dr. Zachariah Sitchin, who was a chosen Freemason. He was a dumb J. Basically, the Anunnaki story is the equivalent of Mormonism. You know, he figured this thing out, didn't tell anybody how, it's sort of a mystery how it came to be, but he invented all of that. Everything that has to do with that was given to us by a chosen Freemason. So personally, I'm not going to believe it. And the Hollow Earth is just stupid. You know, it's stupid. The biggest proponent for Hollow Earth is a Freemason, Admiral Byrd. You know, I mean, these are narratives that they give us. Everything is a narrative, and it's worth thinking about and it's worth talking about, except for the idea that we, and all of those other things require a shit ton of faith. Everything from Jesus and God. The funniest thing is, the Big Bang Theory is the dumbest of all of them. I can't believe I say it nowadays, but compared to Jesus, and the Big Bang Theory is as stupid as it gets. The fish came out of water and made everything, huh? You know, the swirly gravity pockets just pulled all that stardust into the center of the clump and then just lit itself on perpetual fire. And then more clumps formed, but they didn't light themselves on fire. They lit the inside on fire. And here on Earth, the outside started raining. And rocks fell out of the sky that brought life. And after millions and millions of years, those single-celled organisms turned into fish. Those fish turned into dinosaurs. Those dinosaurs got wiped out by another rock. Then more fish came out of the water and turned into lions and tigers and bears and monkeys. And then Everything else sort of stayed the same, but monkeys, chimpanzees in particular, turned into people. Tigers didn't turn into people. Elephants turn into elephant people, but chimpanzees did. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Yeah, the Hawaiian wildfires, the Paradise Fire that everybody's forgotten about, that had Nancy Pelosi's husband owned a big share in the electrical line that was the railway line that was proposed to be put in and fit the exact like cutout of the places that were burned during the Paradise Fire. Paradise Fire sure did disappear quick, didn't it? But every single one of those things is all like a viable thing, except for the idea that we are just, that there's a more advanced version of us that has us in a thing that we don't realize we're in, and they manipulate our lives and they film it. There's invisible cameras everywhere. They might even be in the birds for all those dumb people. But why would they be in the bird? They're invisible. How far away from making invisible do you think we are? How far away from shrinking do you think we are? I mean, again, like 500 years, if you go back 100 years and if you suddenly got beamed back 100 years, 150 years, and somehow you were in a room with the smartest people in the world and they could understand you and you could understand them, and you told them about your life and you were like, yeah, I'm on my cell phone watching some guy in Michigan who's on his cell phone talking to us. We can see his face in real-time conversation. I can communicate with anybody in the world. Oh, an airplane just went overhead. Oh, some cars drove down the street. Oh, yeah, the TV's on. Oh, I got a refrigerator full of food. And, oh, there's, turn on. Oh, ready? Boom. Look at that. Look at that. Like, they wouldn't have any fucking clue. They'd think you were nuts. So imagine what we're going to think about the technology 100 years from today. More like 50 years. Yeah, exactly. They probably have a lot of it. I know I've seen videos that show invisible cloaks and shit out of China. All I can say is, in 1989, they let us know about stealth technology. I was a young boy at the time, so fucking awesome G.I. Joe planes in real life. Like, I was so into that. And if you weren't there, you don't remember, but stealth was like a rock star. Like, stealth was everywhere. Dodge named a car Stealth after this. They finally let us know about the stealth technology, but rumor has it that it went all the way back to the 40s, maybe even the 30s. So at the very least, if it's from the 40s, and they let us have it in 89, that's 40, 50 years that we are behind what they've had the whole time. The whole aliens thing, the whole UFOs thing, now that it's 2025 and you know about drones, gee, I wonder if a lot of those alien videos, those UFO videos, can be explained with drones now. I know when stealth technology came out, it sure did account for a lot of those people that thought they saw wing-shaped UFOs flying through the sky. I know I was out front one day and I actually filmed it. There were two wing-shaped things. They just sort of appeared out of nowhere. They went up like this. They twisted around and did like a horseshoe, and then came back down, and they like corkscrewed around each other, and then they disappeared. But I could see them for a minute. And I filmed the shit. I don't know where that video went. Obviously, I think it was on the old Facebook page. But, I have no reason to lie. What, lost signal. Gee, I wonder why. Saudi Arabia screwed themselves over by cloud seeding. I wonder if the tech is the same. Like, when you try to talk about chemtrails with people, and they act stupid, like dropping something out of a plane is just so preposterous. I bet they've known how to drop shit out of a plane since they started flying planes. I mean, it's fucking stupid. But like if you go look up on YouTube, if you put chemtrails into the Google machine, the first thing that pops up is the Wikipedia page, chemtrail conspiracy theory. If you click on it, the first sentence is that chemtrails are the erroneous conspiracy theory that the trails that persist behind airplanes that stick around and then spread into large cloud-like things have to be something nefarious because normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, which we all know. We all grew up seeing it. The second sentence is something, about that same thing, like it's crazy. The third sentence is that people think that chemtrails are something just because of programs like stratospheric aerosol injection and marine cloud brightening. By the third sentence, they're telling you, yeah, we do it. Yeah, we absolutely do that. That's the thing that we do. It's fucking silly. And then if you click on those things, you click on stratospheric aerosol injection, it's exactly what you're seeing. Chemtrails being sprayed way up high in the sky to, quote, reflect the sunlight back into the atmosphere or out into space to lower the temperature because global warming has us 1.5 degrees Celsius warmer than we should be. What? 1.5 degrees? You couldn't feel that. If I gave you some water and I was like, all right, this one is 77 degrees and this one is 78.5 degrees. Tell me which one's which. You can't stick your finger in and be like, yep, this one's warmer. You're not going to feel a degree difference. Yet I'm supposed to believe that we're going to spray all kinds of shit into the sky because the earth is 1.5 degrees warmer than what? We didn't keep track of the temperature 500 years ago, so we don't know what the fuck that was. Are we saying since what it was 100 years ago, 50 years ago? Like, that's just stupid. Temperature fluctuates. Now take the 50-60 on AI. We're receiving the dumb version of AI. I think Saudi Arabia uses an array in a shoot stuff in the atmosphere to create the effect. Yeah, sure, we all do. The other thing that they say is marine cloud brightening. You click on that, you see again, spraying shit from planes into the atmosphere to brighten the clouds to reflect shit back. It's either to reflect shit back or to make it rain. If somebody doesn't want it to rain on a special day, they can spray shit into the air prior to and make it rain a couple of days earlier. That way it doesn't rain on your day. There's a guy, his last name was Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, from the early 1900s, who was, a famed rainmaker and made it rain so bad in San Francisco or in San Diego that they caused all these great floods and all this other shit. Like it's a whole thing. This guy was selling his services to multiple people, including governments. And he wouldn't take payment until after you saw results. And yet he was world famous for it. So he must have been doing something right. But to think that some guy figured out how to make it rain all the way back then and we haven't now? I mean, at the end of the day, you sort of have to believe that controlling the weather is what? Not a priority? Why wouldn't that be a priority? In 1959, with Disney, the U.S. military made a series of movies called Eyes to Space. And one of the parts is all about how they're going to use mini HARP facilities located all over the coastline and whatnot, and aerosols from planes to be able hurricanes and shit like that, to dissipate hurricanes. They made video, if the military made videos about it in 59, then you either believe either A, they figured it out and shelved the technology, B, they just couldn't figure it out. They made all these movies about it, but then at the end of the day, they couldn't figure it out. Or C, they figured it out and they just use it on us, but they don't tell us about it. It's one of the three. You know, you can't be dumb enough to think that they just were like, we just don't. We figured this out, but we're not going to use it. That would be useful during war. I mean, the thing is, you know, people have tried to scare the population into believing in chemtrails and HARP and all that shit for a long time. I think we need to change the approach. If we tell rich people, hey, look, you don't have to lose all your shit in a forest fire. You don't have to lose all your shit in a hurricane. They can absolutely dissipate the hurricanes. They can absolutely move the jet stream with HARP and then cloud seed the fuck out of things and make it rain and put out forest fires. They can absolutely do that. So why aren't they doing that? Why aren't we demanding that they do it? And there was a document show that high energy lasers had the capacity to change directions of storms. I mean, it's lots of it. If I know about it, that means there's a hell of a lot more information out there that I don't know that proves everything right. Like if I know about it, you know, it got down to the lowest levels. But this is all old tech. You know, in 69, they just suddenly developed supersonic jets, the Concorde, that could suddenly fly at 55,000 feet as opposed to 35,000, could make the trip across the ocean in half the time. And the whole flight was controlled by onboard computers. The pilots didn't even do the flying. In 69? Do you know what computers looked like in 1969? Big giant rooms with wheels and reels on them that would spin and flashy lights everywhere and shit. You've seen them. Think about that. And yet in 69 they just made the Concorde. They just did it.
His ear sure looks good. It's a recent photo of him. Sure looks good.
Well, that sure doesn't look like his ear got shot off. Wait, did I not hold that long enough? I'm sorry. Shot somebody that's healed from a bullet wound. But I mean, he had already stopped bleeding by the time he stood up, so you know where he stood up and then they let him fight, and you know, they didn't know another shooter was there or not, but they let him do it. And funny enough, none of the people there with their cell phones were live or making videos at the time. I could talk about the fake Trump shooting all day and, and all the different little pieces that make no sense. Like especially the fat little female Secret Service woman who couldn't figure out how to get her gun in her holster. You know? That's a Secret Service person? That's the person out there protecting us? But the main point to me is, where the fuck are all the cell phone videos? There should be cell phone videos from every position possible. And like I say, my wife loves watching these fucking horrible NCIS bullshit shows. And back in the late, because a lot of these are reruns. So back in the late aughts, early teens, they used to show that they could scour the web, all the different social media pages, and anytime there was some sort of event happening, because so many people are uploading pictures at the same time as anything is happening, they could just collect all the different pictures from around wherever the thing happened and basically create like a 3D diorama out of it. And they can watch in real time as things took place just based on people's pictures because there's so many of us with a camera in our hand taking pictures.
The only ear in history to regenerate.
And yet it's 2025. People walk around with 2 cell phones nowadays. And yet, show me the video. Show me the cell phone video of anything that has to do with that shooting. There's one video I saw that was from Trump's left and above, like way up above, where you could supposedly see the shooter's head walking around in the background on top of the building. And he goes behind an awning for a second, and then he comes out. And apparently, as soon as he starts shooting, the video cuts off. Why? What would that do? I've seen 1 or 2, but I didn't see them live. I bet you've only seen cell phone videos of people from like off to the side or far away where people are just sort of walking around the grounds. Not a cell phone video of the actual shooting or the other people. The one dude who so we still don't know what happened to Red Shirt Joseph. The guy that the news was interviewing with the red shirt on, he said, "I'll just say my name's Joseph." He didn't actually give his name. He said he saw it for sure and that the shots had to have come from Trump's left and behind him. Because the guy whose head exploded from the left to the right. His head exploded and he fell. And he had to be in between Trump and the shooter. He said he saw the guy's head explode, so he knows what it looked like. He saw the shit come out, you know. And he said, absolutely without a question, the shots came from back and to the left, back and to the left, back and to the left. Yet the shots were supposedly from Trump's right front, from like 1 o'clock to the front of him. Yet when he got shot, he just happened to turn his head this way. So how could the bullet here if he turned his head this way? And of course, because he turned his head, there's no actual video of the bullet hitting him. So at this point, we should see ultra slow motion replay of frame by frame as the bullet, you know, comes and it nicks his ear and the spray flies up from the blood. And that should be there. We should all have no doubt that Trump was shot at by Thomas Matthew Crooks, the 20-something with no social media profile whatsoever.
Like
No social media fingerprint.
90% of these comments are about his ear.
Yeah. Because it's bullshit. Because he came out afterward all like, oh, I got shot. Look at my big giant Band-Aid. But the funniest thing is,
Everybody else is talking about the orange.
if you remember the Republican National Convention when he accepted the nomination, he came out and said, okay, I'm going to tell you guys about that day, and it's going to be the only time I ever tell this story. Why would anybody do that? If you survived a shooting, why would you be like, I'm not going to tell that story ever again? I'm only going to tell you once. It's because he won't get the details right. He'll tell it differently from time to each time he tells it because he's a fucking idiot and because it's not true. So they know that if he's in a situation where somebody's asking about it and they ask the wrong question, that he's not going to have an answer for it, or he's going to trip up and say something opposite of what he said the previous time. So he just gets to be like, yeah, I survived an assassination attempt, but I'm never going to talk about it ever again. What the fuck sense does that make? The only video I saw was outside the perimeter showing dude running across the roof. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yet there was a woman sitting like directly behind Trump to the left, who had a big giant white phone that filmed the whole time because, you know, all of the people in the stands behind him didn't fucking run or anything. Almost like they all knew that there was only one shooter and that it was taken care of. And for some reason, even though the bullet nicked his ear, it didn't hit anybody behind him. It hit some guy way off to the left and some guy off to the right, but nobody behind him. And again, everybody just sat there. Nobody knew if there was a bomb going to go off. Nobody knew if there were multiple shooters. None of that. They just sat there. The woman with the white phone just sat there filming, and yet I've never seen her video. She had a perfect shot of what was happening underneath the dog pile. We could have seen real close up of everything that went down underneath that pile of people. Nope. Nope. If we are in a pissed off mood at you about anything, you are not allowed to be pissed off that we are pissed off. If you wanted to be pissed off first, then you should have planned ahead. Sounds like female logic to me. You know, how come Trump isn't like, you know, making this whole task force about how, you know, investigating how there was such a breakdown, a failure? How did so many people see the guy and film the guy, but the Secret Service didn't? A holographic chess table reenactment. I mean, again, Trump is shot at. He's then allowed to stand up, where for some reason they have female Secret Service people who are shorter than he is. And the one chick is right in front of him as there are two larger guys standing on either side of her. So it like frames his face. As they get him up and they walk him over to the car that's waiting, where again, they've basically framed a perfect shot. If there was a second shooter, he would have had a perfect shot. But coincidentally, there wasn't. And they let him stand up and he's fight. He's doing all this stupid shit. The blood's dried on his face. It's not like he's bleeding profusely or nothing like that.
Like a bullet would do. Look what you're missing.
Roman Catholic cardinals begin centuries-old ritual to elect successor to Pope Francis. Of course they are, because they're stupid as shit. They're just stupid. I thought Francis was supposed to be the last pope. I thought that crazy guy all those years ago went into the trance and named off all the popes, and it ended with Francis. And
Hello.
I thought that was how that's supposed to work. I mean, it's all just so stupid.
Okay.
It really is stupid shit. Now, why does anybody believe in that nonsense? When you look at the ceremony, the ritual that they show you, you're not even allowed to see the full ritual. But just look at what they show you and understand that those people aren't ending homelessness. Those people aren't opening their doors to help people as much as they can. There was a story of a while ago not a while ago, a couple years ago, maybe last year, I don't remember. But a woman gave birth on the steps of the Vatican. And the system made this big deal about how the Vatican took her in and helped her out and all this other shit. Well, I guarantee it was a homeless woman. I guarantee she had been there for prior to giving birth, and the Vatican didn't help her out. They didn't help her until it became a scene where they had to either look like total assholes or help this woman out who just gave birth on their steps. Power never gives up power, bro. Yeah, you're right. But that's when we have to take it. You know, we have to take it from them. The thing is, we outnumber them exponentially. They only make up 0.183% of the world's population. You know, only 2% of the U.S. population. we can easily override this. We can override them. How come nobody talks about the fact that all the cardinals and shit in the Vatican wear yarmulkes? If there's supposedly this Christian group and why do they all wear yarmulkes? Red yarmulkes. Isn't that a strange quinky dink? You know? People don't talk about why Benedict stepped down. First pope in 600 years to step down. Why did he step down? Nobody talked about it. But it was because it came out that every time there's the church was embroiled in a whole bunch of child abuse allegations. And I hate saying child abuse because it's actually like a nicer term. We're talking about rape, child rape allegations. And it turns out that the church has Protocol 42, whatever it's called, where when they find out something happened, they immediately go into action and institute Protocol 42 and blah, blah, blah. Well, it turned out that and it's not called Protocol 42, I'm just saying that's what they have. Turns out that Benedict was the guy in charge of enforcing Protocol 42 for years. And the church was under all this scrutiny and under all this, they were in trouble because there was all these allegations that had come out. And they needed to separate themselves from that. And they didn't want the sitting pope to be, associated with it as much as he did. So he just stepped back and became the black pope. Or maybe he became the gray pope. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, they were moving priests around without bringing them to justice. Yeah, that's what they've always done. In 2018, it came out that the Pennsylvania was split up into 8 dioceses. Each diocese run by an individual. It's a gang, basically. And these are just the gang territories. And each territory is head up by one guy, and then there's another guy that's the head of all of those territories. And it came out that 6 out of the 8 dioceses were riddled with pedophilia. The other 2 were Amish, so we didn't really have any information on those because for some reason Amish people are allowed to exist outside the United States, inside the United States, with all the protections and all that shit, making their fireplaces. But it came out that all these dioceses were just riddled with pedophilia, where they would send the priest to a different part of the country, like I said, before taking them to justice. And there was just all this shit that came out. And then the main cardinal that was over Pennsylvania, the bug-eyed fucking weirdo, oh, he was so creepy and gross. He came out and was all like, no, this is preposterous, blah, 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 only to find out that he had accusations against him. And when that came out, he just disappeared. Nobody talked about it. Where is that bug-eyed weirdo? No idea. But some part of me thought, man, it's impossible for this to not lead to something. This is going to be like the first pebbles of the avalanche. Because, you go around to any fucking diocese, any state, and you start delving in, you're probably going to see the same things, especially because Pennsylvania was sending those people to all the different states. And it was almost like, hey, because Trump's such a winner and such a champion against child abuse, right? You thought that Trump was going to, enforce this and insist on opening up all the dioceses and opening up all the books on the church and all this other shit. Nope. Story disappeared. By 2019, we were all supposed to be focused on Michael Jackson and measles. We all had to run out to get our measles shots. Then it was, e-cigarettes are causing popcorn lung. While Michael Jackson was this big, we were all supposed to be talking about dead Michael Jackson. And that was how it was for most of the year until Epstein sort of took over. And then the Michael Jackson thing just disappeared. Measles just disappeared. Everything just disappeared because you had Epstein, and then it just snowballed into COVID. You had Epstein, you had Prince Andrew, you had You know, all the Trump connections, and then they brought out COVID to cover it all up. Removing priests. Then you got the Dalai Lama telling the one kid to suck his tongue a few years back. Right. Oh, that's so disgusting. So fucking disgusting. Think about how many other kids he's done that or worse to when there wasn't a fucking camera there. How come you've never heard about the priest who just couldn't help himself and was banging hot chicks? Have you ever heard that story? I've never thought about this before. If it doesn't tell you that the priesthood was created by and for pedophiles, I don't know what will. But you have never heard about the playboy priest who just couldn't stop, banging hot chicks. Why do you think that is? Wow, that's fucking huge. I need to go write this song down. Been going for too long anyway for somebody that's not feeling good. So, go get your free download. www.the-bilderberg.group.com. I'm going to put a link to Hollywoodism, which is the most important fucking video you can watch. On all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, anything, anywhere, the most important thing any of you can watch is a movie called Hollywoodism. It's a movie they made about how they control Hollywood. You can't blame it on some conspiracy theorists. They made it. Go watch Hollywoodism. Go check out our new song, COVID Sauce, the video for it. I'm going to give you the link to the video on Facebook. Got another new one coming out too that you're really going to fucking dig it. And, so go get your free download. Go watch Hollywoodism. Go check out the Facebook page. Like, share, do all that shit. And most importantly, as always, you pedophile, you kill yourself.